Hey, what I want to talk about today is something that's been on my mind recently, which the topic is, of course, as you can see from the title of this video, is why the government is important. Now, the thing is, we live in a time and age, particularly because, of course, of the American government, particularly because of the amount of bad press and so on and so forth it's gotten, where people don't really seem to understand the importance of the government. Everyone hates the government. Everyone says, there's no point to the government. It's stupid. We should, or at least it comes off that way with how much people criticize the government because of all the things that they do you know, and so on and so forth. You hear that argument all the time that the government's evil and this and that. So for this video, even though as someone who doesn't always approve of what the government does, anything in most cases don't, I still want to discuss why the government's important. Because as the world goes on further and further, especially with all these independent movements that are spreading across the world, like I know in Spain, they have the Catalan independence movement. In Canada, where I live, they have the British Columbia independence movement and Western Canada independence movement and so on and so forth, and many independence movements throughout the world that is going on. We tend to kind of forget the importance of why the government is important, if anything, and why it's good to have someone in top who makes decisions and stuff. So for this video, I'm going to discuss why the government is important. So let's get started with the first point: why the government is important. The reason why the government is important in general is simply due to the fact that the government as a whole is their job in general, at least fundamentally speaking, their job is to see the bigger picture. Now, anyone who's ever talked to someone in this world, for that matter, I'm certain has kind of realized that sometimes you talk to people on one subject, they sound very intelligent, and you talk to them on another subject, they sound completely stupid. Particularly, let's keep it real, a lot of women in particular are like that. You talk to them about one topic, they sound smart, like you talk about things that relate to, entertainment and this and that. They sound very smart and bright, but you talk to them about things like environmental damage or maybe other topics that are very important for the world, like global warming, whatever, and they sound very dumb. And they say things that are just completely untrue and just whatnot. The truth of the matter is the point of government is that, in general, fundamentally speaking, is that it's to see the bigger picture and how everything in the world is interconnected, which is something that's very important for our civilization that we live in to survive, okay, as a whole. So that is why the government is important, is that their role is to see the bigger picture and how everything is interconnected. Whether it could be things like infrastructure, things like having a good sewage system, um, things such as how to make sure that there is actually good medicine available to people in the general public, so on and so forth. That's the point of the government. It's to kind of put everything together. Do they do a good job in general as a whole? No, not really. But I'm just kind of trying to break this whole the government is useless or fuck the government, argument you hear all the time, especially from right wingers and even from, left wingers sometime who come off as actually being pretty much anarchists who actually don't believe who are an ideology that don't believe in the government, because the truth of the matter is, for a society to thrive, we need people who see the bigger picture. As a matter of fact, we need people in a career path who see the bigger picture, who dedicate their lives to seeing how the bigger picture and how everything's connected together at once. And of course, are good at planning, event planning and stuff when it comes to, if you want to use that term, when it comes to organizing things. Just like if you were to set up a settlement. Let's just give it an easy example, okay? Let's just say you were to, for example, to have a video game or something like a Sid Meier's Civilization, something like that, okay? And you try to make sure your civilization actually thrive. Yes, it's a video game, so some people are gonna automatically this, kind of throw it out and the window and say, "Oh, it's a video game; it doesn't really count." But there is some truth to it, though. Some truth to it, even though it's a video game, because the world is kind of like that in a certain degree. And yeah, back to what I was saying about the video game, like you realize that to organize a civilization, there's certain ways you're supposed to do things. Like, for example, you don't want your hospitals to be too far from where your general population is. So if somebody gets sick or injured, you can't take, sick or injured. It takes them a long time to get to take them to that service. For another example could be you make sure there's enough food for people so they actually stay alive. There's good quality roads, good quality buildings, so it doesn't collapse and kill people, and so on and so forth to make sure things survive. Everything's is there's enough for everyone, as well as good organization skills, so everything goes together and works together effectively. That's the job of the government. It's to put everything together. Because the truth of the matter is, most people in the world are not able to see the bigger picture. And their job, and people in general have certain particular interests and hobbies, passions, whatever you like to say, when it comes to how they do things. So when it comes to, like, for example, everyday people, they can't organize anything. They don't understand. They don't have the ability to organize things or have any idea for vision and all that stuff. The government does when it comes to making sure our civilization thrives. So they're extremely important. It's just more like how well they're run. That's really the question here. So you obviously need people to make sure everything goes together, so everything works together. So that's my first point. You need people who not only do it but are dedicated doing so things work well. So that's my first official point. The second point is that if we didn't have a government together in the first place, the truth is society would absolutely undeniably fall apart. Because the thing about most people in the world, even as I kind of got to a bit and from my first point, most people in the world are not able to see the bigger picture. They only see the world from a certain perspective, and so on and so forth. So they're only able to see a certain aspect of the world, um, instead of seeing the overall picture for how you put things together. I mean, instead of seeing the overall bigger picture, they only see a certain aspect of the world. And unfortunately, most people in the world are like that. They can only see that they're not able to see the bigger picture for everything. It's not even the case about being passionate or interested or and so on and so forth. They just don't see the bigger picture. They don't see the bigger picture. And a lot of people in the world are also selfish. They care about their own personal interests more than actually what's best for the greater good. It's just like, what if the government fell apart? Some people in the world would do things that clearly are things that piss people off. What if somebody decided, okay, I'm just gonna have my dogs just run around in a public area, without a leash on? What if somebody would decide, okay, I'm gonna dig a hole because I want to create the world's biggest hole, and I'm gonna throw the dirt on the roads and stuff. You see what I'm saying? There are people in the world who are like that. They would do that. That they would do that. So you obviously need someone, for example, who is gonna put two and two together, and just in general, for that matter, organize everything, or else everyone's just gonna do their own thing, and the world's gonna fall apart. It might sound cliche or this or that, but it's true. Everyone just do their own thing. So the government is extremely important. So anytime you hear people say, "Oh, f the government," and we don't need a government, we don't need people telling us what to do and all that type of stuff, whether it's from the right wingers or from extreme left wingers, remember that it's important. It just comes down to how well they're run, in all honesty. Because the truth of the matter is, you need some degree of organization, and not just have or an overall someone who just understands a bigger picture. You need someone who specializes in that field. Just like, for example, you might have some certain certain people who specialize in, like, music. That's why their music sounds good. You might have certain people who specialize in, like, making movies. That's why their movies are good. So yeah, truth be told, in all honesty, the thing is that most people in the world are just not able to see the bigger picture. And as I was saying before, you need to have good organization skills. You can't just say, okay, I see the bigger picture and do it. It's like any skill. It takes time and effort to become effective at it. Just like if you are the someone who runs events or something, you need to develop your ability to run events. Tell people, okay, put this here, put that there, put this here, put this that, put this that there. It's a skill. And for the government, it's pretty much the same thing when it comes to running a civilization or a nation, whatever you like to say. So it's the same thing. So the truth of the matter is the government is needed. Whether we like them or not, let's keep it real, we need them. And this is my video with as under my new name, The Well Advice channel. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like this video and like videos like this, remember to hit the thumbs up button and also subscribe. And this is all I have to say, and simply put it, later.